This picture, really drink in this picture. This is how most Christians feel at the very core of their being. Crushed. Just crushed by the pressure. Because most Christians forget who they are. Identity is everything in Christianity. Surviving is how most people have learned to be in their old nature. Surviving and living are not the same. They're not the same. They're two different software. Surviving is constantly worrying about, am I good enough? What are people thinking? It tends to be very self-centered, although it doesn't feel that way. It feels like very self-conscious, but it ends up being self-centered. Because you're worrying about whether the other person's being fair, am I getting a raw deal? For many Christians, on one side is this very powerful force called how things were before they became Christians. And afraid that's how they're going to end up. And on the other side, desperately hoping, fervently praying to be able to be this new creation that God says they are. And are afraid that maybe there's a catch. And they think that that their new nature is the one that's feeling that. That's not their new nature. Your new nature is the Spirit. Who you are when the Spirit is being manifested. Now, here's the trick. Who I am, Jim Henman, is becoming. That's who I am, becoming. People don't like to have a process identity. They want something they can measure and weigh and compare, because my identity is better than hers. You know? His is better than mine, but I'm going to keep working at it till I can beat him. You see? A process you can't compare, because everyone's process is unique. Okay? The truth is, that's just another part of your old nature that you need to be his ambassador to nurture and move from the driver's seat into the passenger seat. Lovingly, firmly. And reminding yourself who you really are is becoming in Christ. Now, this is a theological issue that is tricky, and I love rhetorical questions. I answer rhetorical questions all the time. And I love tricky theological issues. Since the Holy Spirit, but Christianity must be done perfectly. Not by me, but by you. Okay? The fact is, I just went blank. I truly had it blow out of my mind. But you know, that's all right. So I'm going to go on, and it may come back, and if it does, I'll be happy to let you know. Like Alice's Restaurant. Any of you seen Alice's Restaurant, the movie? It's an old one from the 70s or 60s, 70s. And Arlo Guthrie is singing Alice. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant, except in Alice. And then he would sing for a while, and he said, his point's coming around? Well, it's like that, except it's not coming around, I guess. So I'm going to move on. God has a great sense of humor, guys. He has a great sense of humor. He doesn't care you don't do it right. Just do it best you can. Try to stay out of the way. Identity leads to perception. When I'm believing I am, in fact, a new creation, it changes how I look at things. Identity leads to perception. For example, as I've been working on this book, One section, recovery, is a lot like gardening. Now, gardening, as a child growing up, was like the Death March to Bataan. It was like Auschwitz. It was like yuck, for those of you that are young enough that you don't know the other two, okay? It was horrible. It was miserable. It's something to be avoided at all cost. It was Bermuda. Bermuda, with roots down to China. And my dad had the capacity to make it miserable, truly miserable. And I swore when I was a kid I would not do yard work when I grew up. Now, Sonia, my bride of 32 years, had a father that loved yard work, loved projects, could build a building, he could build furniture, he could fix cars, he could do anything. She assumed, since I'm a man, I like yard work. She assumed I could fix things. Nope. Nope. So when Sonia, she's in the garden club, in Modesto, and she loves to garden, and she relaxes when she's gardening. So she's coming, and she's really sweet. She says, Jim, go out and just kind of fix up the yard a little bit. What she's saying is, would you like to come and have an intimate moment of relaxing with me? What I hear is, do you want to walk on broken glass barefooted? Okay? In addition to that, my definition of relaxing, this is very important. Sitting watching TV? Sitting listening to music? Sitting reading Tom Clancy or something else that has no redeeming value? Sitting and talking? Sitting and snoozing? This is relaxing. That is torture. This is relaxing. So I can face a couple of choices. I can either have my wife feel hurt and rejected in her love offer and relax. I work hard. I love what I do, but I do work hard. I do like to relax. Or I can go with her and resent it. I only have two choices, right? Black, white, yes, no, right, wrong? No, no. But I believed that for 31 and a half years. I'm a slow learner. So, as I began writing this new book, God has this horrible tendency of wanting to field test it on me first. I hate that part of writing. That is really the hardest part. The writing itself is easier than the field testing. So I say to myself, maybe I should learn to enjoy yard work. Nah, that's my old nature. Nah, it's horrible. So I start looking at yard work through Sonia's eyes. I start just sort of hanging out with her, and once in a while, without no one's looking, just may pull a weed. I don't want anyone to realize that I'm actually, doing the yard work thing. And little by little, I realized, hey, this isn't bad. This is kind of fun. Unless it means I'm not relaxing. The power of definition is at the heart of addictions. Power of definition is at the heart of all the psychological problems. Relationship problems is the power of definition. What does a heroin addict do to feel good? He shoots up heroin so he can barf and nod out and be a zombie. But that's that person's definition of having a good time. Or a tweaker, is going to do their meth. Or an alcoholic's going to drink. Now what they forget to mention to themselves is, and when I drink, I become a jerk. And everyone that loves me is hurt terribly by what I do. But luckily, I'm drunk, so I don't recognize it, I don't remember it, I don't experience it, and they're lying. Definition is everything. Take a deep breath. What areas of your life would you like to make different? I used to smoke cigarettes. I mooched cigarettes. I was a social smoker. My clients would give me a cigarette at the beginning of the session. I was at Family Service Agents. I was director there. And we'd smoke and talk and talk and smoke. This one guy came in one day, the day after I had stopped smoking, and laid 2 cigarettes on my desk and said, let's get this out of the way so we can get to business. And I said, I don't smoke. Jim, take the cigarettes. Let's get down to business. I have some stuff I want to deal with today. And I said, I don't smoke. I didn't quit. I never quit smoking. I became a non-smoker. Take a deep breath and feel the difference. It takes no willpower for a non-smoker not to smoke. A smoker who is quitting, a smoker who is not smoking, is deprived. And they will resent it, and the craving that comes from that, and the tension that comes from that will generate another addictive pattern. They'll eat, they'll do something because they're feeling deprived. It's not because they're not smoking, it's because they're not having their identity fulfilled. What would you like to change? Put it in a positive form. How do I want to be becoming? Starting right where I'm starting. Feeling good about noticing right where I'm starting. Feeling my big brother's hand on my shoulder. Having absolute faith in me. Loving me perfectly no matter what I do. It makes change a lot easier. One of the special gifts that has come for me since working on this book and now the talk, my son and daughter-in-law graduated from Stanislaus State this last June. They live in Turlock. They have a house in Turlock. They both have been working like dogs in school, working for money to live. You got to crack the nut, right? And so they hadn't had a chance to really do much with their house. And they're having a party for graduation. And so Jesse calls up, Mom. He didn't call up Dad. He called up Mom. Listen, could you help us get the yard in shape? Now, to Sonia, that's an invitation to have fun. I kind of groan and say, oh, how long is that going to take? Not to Jesse and Leslie. I'm not that honest, But to Sonia, I say, oh man, it's hot, it's. Ugh. Sonia looks at me like, Jim, knock it off. These 2 kids graduated with great honors. They've been self-sufficient. We can go down and help them. Quit sniveling. Quit whining. So we go down there, and this is the gift, okay? This is the context for the gift. Now this is the gift. It is Bermuda. It is Bermuda. The front yard does have Bermuda. And there's Jesse and me, and it's hot. Jesse's buffed. He's big, strong. I'm not. And so I have him do the harder part of the work. He's doing the shoveling. It's his yard, So we're working, we're sweating like pigs. And all of a sudden I realize, I did a split screen. It's a technique in the bus book where, it's also in the handbook as well, where I was seeing Jesse and I was feeling, I love my son. I love both my sons. I love my daughter-in-law. They're very, very special to me. Very priceless. And here I am with my son that I love doing something I've normally hated and loving it. I was loving it. It was like Jesse had given me a wonderful gift in inviting me to help him, well, actually invited his mom, but letting me come along, to be accurate. It was a wonderful gift. And then I saw my dad and me as a kid. And I said, God, thank you. Because when we became pregnant, with our first child, you know Jesus in the garden, where he's praying so fervently that he's sweating blood? Father, please pass this cup past me. Remember that? Now, how many folks of the Pharisee bent would say, he should have had more faith? Why is he sweating blood? Because he knew what was going to happen to him, right? But when we became pregnant, I would pray fervently, God, give me daughters. Give me daughters, please. I have no clue how to be a father to sons. I can't catch the ball. I'm not athletic. If it's a girl, then at least Sonia can kind of do the, the girl thing, and I can provide. I'll work like a dog if I need to. I'll make all the money they need, But don't give me sons, Lord. I don't want to be the kind of father I had. I don't mean that disrespectfully. And in a moment, you're going to hear more about my dad and why he was the way he was. So God gave me 2 very athletic sons. And it's what I needed in my growth. And how often when you pray for something and the opposite comes, and you're thinking God didn't answer your prayer, is it because you, not God, were mistaken? Think about that.